Bawumia, as you know, has become the butt of all jokes. If there is any politician whose words have been used against him, I don't think that in the history of Ghanaian politics, any politician will come close. I have been following politics actively for at least 2 decades, even though I may be young, but at least this fourth Republican dispensation, I mean, as a student leader, as an activist, I mean, we have been quite conscious of the political terrain for a while. And never, perhaps you can also say that it's also because of the, if you like, unguarded nature of his statements. He really went on a frolic. He was totally unhinged. I mean, some of the things he said, I'm sure he himself cringes when the video is played back to him. So I'm not surprised that every now and then you hear his collaborators, his conspirators, his accomplices, you know, criticize TV and radio programs. Oh, why are you playing those videos? We don't want to see those videos. I mean, the last time a morning show on radio was complaining that they had received same message from the Bawumia camp, that they are not comfortable when they play back his own words. Why are you not comfortable? I mean, as I come here, I've been doing this here for, what, more than 12 years. I know that in this digital era, there are recordings. I mean, these days, viewers watching on Facebook can just click record. You record it. They have it on their phones. So if there's anything you cannot be proud of 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then don't say it. You see, in desperation for votes, we should not take the electorate for granted. I mean, you tell the Ghanaian people that the money is here. I've worked at the Bank of Ghana before. You don't need to borrow. You've seen that popular video. Oh, I mean, forget about borrowing. We'll just toll the roads. And just tolling will be enough to construct the roads. What happened to that policy? The toll booths, the last time the roads minister spoke about the toll booth, he said they were planning to convert them into, you know, public urinals and toilets. One of the most outrageous statements, you know, ever to be made by a politician anywhere in the world. I mean, and as for these people, when you want to list the outrageous statements, it's incredible, such a tall list, you know. So where are the road tolls that will be used to construct the roads? Bawumia said that. You know, he said that. And when people play the video, they get upset. Why are you playing that video? You know, Bawumia is the same politician who told us that, look, when you borrow too much, when you spend excessively, when you deplete your foreign reserve, you end up at the IMF. You remember that 2015 video that went viral only recently, that you bring the IMF upon you. It is your recklessness. That's what he told President Mahama in 2015, when he was waxing lyrical, when he was on top of rooftops. I recall at the time, President Mahama was even criticized when he told his fellow brother from the north that, look, you haven't been there before. Can you slow down a bit? Can you take it easy? They criticized him that, hey, how dare you? He hasn't been there before, so what? Allow him to talk and go to town and say anything that he wants to say. Now here we are. He is upset when his own words are played to him, when the videos are aired. He and his collaborators don't want to see his own videos. They don't want to hear their own words. This is the same man who promised us that we will move from taxation to production. You remember that?
That I remember.
Yes, from taxation to production. What has happened to that? Now, here we are, more taxes. Only recently, women are demonstrating all over the country about taxes on sanitary pads. I remember when we rolled out free sanitary pads at the Ministry of Education. They called us names. I remember what Samia Wuku said, my own good friend. Yeah, very bizarre statements. That, no, we should watch it. Probably there's some demonic intervention. You know, very outlandish attacks. Now here we are. Ghanaian women are saying that, look, you promised us moving from taxation to production. And Bawumia actually said, he himself, his own words, and that video has also gone viral, that we will take off all the taxes from sanitary towels. What has happened to that? So this is a man who, as A.B.A. Husseini said, God bless him. I mean, amazing chap. He's also in a sin of great guy, and I know he'll be back. Even though he lost his primaries, I know he'll be back. He'll be sorely missed in the house. He said that, look, if Bawumia greets you good morning, you need to check the direction of the sun. You can't be sure even if it's morning. So, I mean, if there's any discredited public official who has absolutely no credibility, it's Dr. Bawumia. So I'm surprised that today Nana Kumia comes here wanting to, and he's so good at, rebranding, repackaging, and he wants you to forget, he wants you to forget about the man we all know. I mean, we know him. We all know this man. We all know that, look, what they are trying to repackage, rebrand again, and they did that with Nana Akufo-Addo. We know him. So, look, all the things he has said. I mean, what happened to have arrested the depreciation, and you're not going to see any fall in the currency any longer and all of that.
They have cited the external factors, which
Good. Let me come to external factors. You know a gentleman called Pierre Laporte. You know him? Pierre Laporte, the World Bank country director. He went public. I mean, don't take it from me. I mean, as for me, you say, I'm Bawumia's opponent. I'm in the NDC. What do you expect?
No, but you're an honorable, so I mean,
yes,
a member of parliament.
Yes, exactly. I take my research
serious,
seriously. Everybody knows in this country I take my facts seriously. But you put that aside. Pierre Laporte, the World Bank country director, did not mince words when he said that, look, Ghanaians, I have to be honest with you. Long before COVID, you were on a decline. Your economy was collapsing. Pierre Laporte did not mince words at all. That don't blame COVID. Long before COVID, you guys had not covered yourself in glory. And the data speaks for itself. In 2016, President Mahama left the public debt of this country at 120 billion. A confirmed figure by the Bank of Ghana. The World Bank, the IMF have all confirmed this figure. 2016, 120 billion. By 2019, don't forget that COVID struck in 2020, March of 2020. That's when all the lockdowns and all of those things, began. March of 2020. By 2019, just 2 years after taking over, Bawumia, as head of the economic management team, had moved the public debt from 120 billion to 225 billion. That's a fact. He had added 105 billion. He had almost doubled the public debt that he came to meet. And President Mahama's figure is way from the Nkrumah era, from 1957, 120 billion. Before COVID, the public debt had hit 225 billion. He had added 105 billion Ghana cedis to the public debt. Can you believe that? Let's take debt to GDP. He was all over the place with those hackneyed lectures, from campus to campus, every public space he could find, he was holding lectures, pontificating, theorizing, see if he had a magic wand, as if it was so easy. He was complaining about a public debt, a debt to GDP, which was standing at 56% in 2016. Before COVID, the public debt had hit 70%, another figure confirmed by the Bank of Ghana. Incontrovertible. The public debt, which he complained about, and you remember at the time, he warned us that, look, you are getting close to the dreaded 60%. That they, the economists, the experts, say that don't get your debt to GDP hitting 60%. Avoid it. President Mahama avoided it. He made sure that he didn't go beyond 56%. Dr. Bawumia is giving the economic management team to manage, and he hit 70% in less than 2 years. Can you believe that? And they want to blame COVID. That some African leaders have gone to Ukraine. So what? 5 African leaders and Ukraine. So what has that got to do with us? How does that explain away your mismanagement long before COVID? The debt servicing amount, they met it at 11 billion in 2016. Bank of Ghana data, the debt servicing amount hit 37 billion in 2019. 91% of all national revenues. We were using it under Bawumia for debt servicing. I can give you more figures. The budget deficit went beyond 5% in 2016 to 7.5% in 2018, 7% in 2019. As for the cedi, it became the worst performing currency in the world before COVID. You remember that? To the extent that the government had to set up, you remember that infamous 40-member committee, FX committee, that had the likes of our good friend Franklin Kujo and all of that. I mean, the government was desperate. They invited everybody to come and help. 40-member. Even my good friend's whole central MP, Honorable Kodo, was invited. He declined the invitation because he said that, look, Bawumia had been very uncharitable to us. He said he had a magic wand. He could do it. Why are you now inviting us to come and help you? So that 40-member committee, you remember? Look, at the time, the government was so disappointed in Bawumia as head of the economic management team that they didn't include him in that committee. You remember? That infamous 40-member committee, Bawumia was not part of it. That should tell you, vote of no confidence. And look, all this talk even about COVID. Why don't they talk about the windfall that COVID brought? COVID brought us in excess of 30 billion. I have the Auditor General's report here. They don't talk about that. COVID brought you money. Or PPP. He was talking about the G-speaking people. That's when I learned of PPP, 2000. You know, when the NDC lost. You know, or PPP. I never knew that we would exceed PPP. That's the money they got under COVID. Over 30 billion from World Bank, IMF, all over. It was flowing. They don't talk about that. They hide that. COVID, fortunately, if COVID had hit, if it was just a Ghanaian epidemic, if it was not a pandemic, only God knows what would have been said by these smooth talkers. Now, fortunately, God made COVID a pandemic, affected everybody. Why is it that it's only Ghana, if you compare with our neighbors, we are the only country going through a debt restructure? Are you aware that it's only Ghana going through a debt restructure? It's only in Ghana that we can't pay pensioners, bondholders. We can't pay them their own earnings, their own savings. We cannot even guarantee them their coupons. They are maturing coupons. They can't have it. As for the other bondholders, forget about them. They say come and exchange for something inferior. And I was going through the IMF document, the IMF agreement again, a copy of which I have here. I'm still counting. So far, I've counted 45 conditionalities in this IMF, the most painful, the most bitter IMF agreement. You know, there's not going to be any employment. I mean, under President Mahama, it was net freeze. So with net freeze, at least health and the education sectors were exempted. You could employ in those sectors. I don't see that under this agreement. This is the most draconian IMF program I have seen since, as a political science student, reading IMF documents and seeing what has happened. Look, there was a time with one of in the 80s, one of our IMF programs, we even had PAMSCAD. There was a package to mitigate structural adjustment. I don't see that here. All the burden, the hardship has been shifted on the already suffering Ghanaian. So please, nobody should come and repackage this failed Bawumia, who has been a disaster, and they want to portray him as some savior who is going to save us. Look, they should listen to even all their opponents. Have you been listening to Alan Chamantin? Have you been listening to Cabinet Japan?
I have monitored
Canadian Japan.
I have monitored
all of them. Yes, all of them.
Yes,
they have lumped Bawumia and Akufo-Addo together, and all of them are saying that, look, we promise you NPP delegates, we will depart from this Akufo-Addo Bawumia track record. I've heard them. Alan Martin said Achia. He admitted that Achia. Now so
that would mean that the NPP has failed.
Yes, they are saying it. They say that, look,
it would mean that the NPP has failed.
I can show you statements.
I
can show you statements.
Agree that the party has failed.
They agree. Look, all of us, when we meet, when the cameras are off, it's different from what they tell, the brave face that they mount when the cameras are on. Have you read Cabinet Japan, Alan Chamantin, Kennedy saying that the size of government is too much, that they will not do what President Akufo-Addo is doing? Have you heard them say that this National Cathedral project, waste of money? They are not going to dissipate public funds. They are saying it publicly. They are distancing themselves from Bawumia.
Let me go on a
and I'm surprised that this morning Nana Kumia is the man people are running away from. He has gone to embrace him. Look, I was going to say that when he said there will be a 12th candidate, I thought it's going to be him. I will have endorsed him. He's far better than this Bawumia chap. Far better. He will have been able to promise something different.